What if I told you that the very wealth you seek already exists within your imagination, waiting to be awakened? In this video, you will discover the spiritual principles of wealth according to Neville Goddard, and how mastering these principles can transform your financial reality from the inside out, giving you the tools to attract abundance effortlessly and permanently. This is where it begins, with the realization that your outer world is a reflection of your inner state, and that imagining the life you desire is the first step to claiming it. This is how it unfolds. The moment you feel wealthy in your mind, your life begins to align with that feeling, producing opportunities, insights, and connections you never anticipated. This is where truth breaks through. Every lack, struggle, or limitation you faced is not your destiny, but a signal of what your inner world has assumed. This is why it matters. Because imagination is not fantasy, it is the unseen blueprint that shapes reality with exact precision. This is where illusion fades. When you understand that circumstances do not create wealth, imagination does, and action flows naturally from the states you embody. This is the turning point. When you stop chasing money externally and start nurturing a rich inner life, the world will respond in ways that seem miraculous but are deeply natural. This is the revelation. Neville's teachings show that by assuming the feeling of your wishes fulfilled, you bypass struggle and enter a state where wealth becomes inevitable. This is how the promise manifests. Through mental discipline, vivid sensory experience, and unwavering belief, your imagination becomes the invisible engine of abundance. This is where resistance falls away, as you replace scarcity thinking with a living, breathing awareness of prosperity. This is why you are empowered, because you no longer rely on chance or external validation, but on the undeniable creative power within you. This is the gateway to a life where financial freedom is not a goal, but an everyday reality, flowing effortlessly from thought into form. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. Wealth arrives because it is a byproduct of your inner state, not external manipulation. This is how miracles become ordinary. When your imagination is fully engaged, life orchestrates experiences that validate your inner vision. This is where doubts dissolve, as you witness the correlation between assumption and manifestation, reinforcing the principle beyond theory. This is why persistence is sacred. Because the longer you sustain the imagined reality, the more tangible it becomes in your world. This is where clarity sharpens, distinguishing between fleeting wishes and deeply held states that define your financial identity. This is how belief transcends effort. By aligning your consciousness with the life you want, the universe conforms without resistance. This is where your journey truly begins. And from this awakening, every subsequent principle of wealth unfolds naturally, building a seamless path to abundance that is as practical as it is spiritual. Can you imagine a reality where your financial circumstances bend effortlessly to the beliefs you hold in your mind? In this video, you will learn how Neville Goddard's law of assumption works as the spiritual engine behind wealth, and how mastering it allows you to consciously design your financial life with precision and confidence. This is where it begins, by understanding that what you assume to be true internally will inevitably manifest externally, shaping the events, people, and opportunities that cross your path. This is how it unfolds. When you consistently assume the state of being wealthy, your subconscious mind orchestrates circumstances that reflect that inner reality. This is where truth breaks through. Your outer world is never separate from your inner convictions, and money flows naturally when your assumptions align with abundance. This is why it matters, because the majority of struggle comes not from lack, but from holding assumptions of insufficiency or limitation. This is where illusion fades. When you release the idea that wealth must be chased or earned externally, and instead recognize that it is drawn by your inner state. This is the turning point. As you hold the assumption of having, living, and enjoying wealth, your external life begins to conform effortlessly. This is the revelation. Even seemingly impossible financial goals become inevitable when you treat them as already realized within your consciousness. This is how the promise manifests. Through careful attention to your mental state, imagining details vividly, and feeling the satisfaction of abundance as if it were present now. This is where resistance falls away, because the law of assumption bypasses logic, fear, and doubt, speaking directly to the creative power of your mind. This is why you are empowered. Your financial destiny is no longer dependent on external conditions, timing, or the actions of others, but on the clarity and consistency of your assumptions. This is the gateway to a life where wealth appears through invisible channels, synchronistic encounters, and inspired ideas that feel divinely timed. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. Once your mind assumes the end, external events fall into place without struggle or force. This is how miracles become ordinary. Every opportunity, connection, or sudden gain reflects the faithful assumption of abundance. This is where doubts dissolve, as repeated manifestations reinforce the reality that what is imagined and assumed with feeling is always true. This is why persistence is sacred. Holding the assumption against all appearances guarantees that your inner conviction shapes tangible results. This is where clarity sharpens, allowing you to distinguish fleeting wishes from deliberate assumptions that define your financial identity. This is how belief transcends effort. Your mental state becomes the invisible architect of wealth, rendering traditional hard work secondary to conscious assumption. This is where your journey truly advances. And with this understanding, every next principle of wealth flows naturally, building a life of prosperity that is both spiritual and profoundly real. Picture for a moment a world where the sensation of wealth in your body shapes the currency that flows into your life with effortless grace. In this video, you will discover how Neville Goddard teaches that feeling, not thought alone, is the true creative force behind financial abundance, and how embodying this sensation shifts reality to match your inner state. This is where it begins, by recognizing that your emotions act as a magnetic signal, attracting experiences, people, and money that correspond perfectly to what you feel. This is how it unfolds. When you cultivate the feeling of already having wealth, opportunities emerge as natural extensions of your inner state, not as forced or contrived efforts. This is where truth breaks through. The outer world responds precisely to the emotional energy you sustain, confirming that feeling is the engine of manifestation. This is why it matters. Because you cannot fake financial reality into existence through logic alone. Emotion colors every aspect of creation. This is where illusion fades. When you let go of the idea that thinking or planning alone creates money, and embrace feeling as the vital link between imagination and reality. This is the turning point. As you immerse yourself in the sense of abundance, your mind begins to orchestrate circumstances that mirror the richness you hold internally. This is the revelation. Money is not merely an external object to pursue, but an extension of your lived emotional experience. This is how the promise manifests. By consciously tuning into feelings of prosperity, you activate the invisible currents that bring tangible results without struggle. This is where resistance falls away, because when emotion aligns with imagination, doubt, fear, and scarcity lose their grip on your reality. This is why you are empowered. Your financial state becomes a direct reflection of the richness you nurture within, granting you creative control over wealth. This is the gateway to a life where abundance is not sporadic but consistently mirrored in your experiences, partnerships, and opportunities. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. Your sustained emotional state ensures that wealth appears when your inner readiness is complete. This is how miracles become ordinary. When every act of imagining with feeling produces synchronized external evidence of prosperity. This is where doubts dissolve, as repeated alignment between feeling and manifestation strengthens your certainty in the creative process. This is why persistence is sacred. Maintaining the state of wealth and feeling, despite appearances, ensures your desired reality unfolds inevitably. This is where clarity sharpens, teaching you to discern fleeting excitement from deep, sustained emotional alignment that produces lasting abundance. This is how belief transcends effort. Feeling rich internally removes the struggle of making money externally and replaces it with effortless creation. This is where your journey truly deepens. And with this mastery of feeling as the creative force, every subsequent principle of wealth builds seamlessly upon this foundation, creating a life of effortless financial abundance. Now consider this. What if you lived each day from the perspective of already having all the wealth you desire, rather than chasing it from a place of lack. In this video, you will uncover Neville Goddard's principle of living in the end, learning how embodying the state of fulfilled financial desire allows you to attract money, opportunities, and success naturally, bypassing struggle and waiting. This is where it begins. By imagining the life you wish to experience as if it is already your present reality, fully embracing the emotions, thoughts, and sensations of having arrived. This is how it unfolds. Every thought, word, and action begins to align with your assumed state, creating an invisible magnet that draws corresponding external conditions effortlessly. This is where truth breaks through. The secret is not effort or sacrifice, but the ability to inhabit the mental and emotional state of the end, the state of completion and abundance. This is why it matters, because the outer world is a faithful reflection of your inner assumptions, and living in the end ensures that reality conforms to your highest vision. This is where illusion fades, when you stop reacting to current circumstances and start responding from the imagined fulfillment. Scarcity loses its hold. This is the turning point. As you consistently act, speak, and feel from the end, opportunities appear as if guided by invisible hands. This is the revelation. Wealth is not something to attain in the future. It is already yours to inhabit in the mind, and your life simply catches up to your inner state. This is how the promise manifests. Through conscious practice of living in the end, your subconscious mind orchestrates the experiences, people, and resources necessary to bring the imagined world into form. This is where resistance falls away, because the mind no longer doubts or questions what it assumes as already true. This is why you are empowered. You hold the key to financial freedom within, independent of external events, timing, or effort. This is the gateway to a life where abundance is continuous, predictable, and reflective of the mental state you maintain. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. When the end is lived now, manifestation follows naturally and without delay. This is how miracles become ordinary. Every aligned thought and feeling triggers events that make wealth appear almost effortlessly. This is where doubts dissolve, as the practice of living in the end proves its validity in tangible financial shifts. This is why persistence is sacred. Sustaining the state of the end, even in the face of current appearances, ensures eventual materialization. This is where clarity sharpens. You learn to recognize the difference between temporary desires and the fully realized state that drives creation. This is how belief transcends effort. Because by living in the end, you no longer struggle to make things happen. They unfold in perfect timing. This is where your journey truly transforms. And with this principle, every other aspect of Neville's wealth teachings flows naturally, building a seamless bridge between inner vision and outer reality. Suppose you discover that your past financial experiences, no matter how limiting, do not define your present or future wealth. In this video, you will learn Neville Goddard's powerful technique of revision, showing how reimagining past monetary struggles can erase their hold on your subconscious, freeing you to attract abundance effortlessly and confidently. This is where it begins, by recognizing that every negative memory of scarcity, loss, or missed opportunity has been unconsciously shaping your present reality. This is how it unfolds. When you mentally rewrite these memories with outcomes of prosperity, satisfaction, and success, your subconscious begins to accept them as truth, reshaping your financial landscape. This is where truth breaks through. The events themselves are not fixed, but your perception of them dictates their influence on your current wealth consciousness. This is why it matters. Because unhealed money memories act as invisible blocks, preventing opportunities and abundance from flowing naturally into your life. This is where illusion fades. When you accept that the past can be revised in imagination, you release the grip of limitation that once seemed permanent. This is the turning point. As you habitually revise, you notice subtle shifts in your financial intuition, attracting ideas and connections that align with prosperity. This is the revelation. Your subconscious cannot distinguish between actual events and vividly imagined revisions. It responds to the emotional reality you impress upon it. This is how the promise manifests. As old patterns dissolve, new channels for wealth, resources, and unexpected opportunities open effortlessly. This is where resistance falls away, because the mind no longer clings to stories of lack, and fear of repeating past mistakes loses its power. This is why you are empowered. You gain control over the unseen forces that have silently influenced your financial outcomes. This is the gateway to a life where every past setback becomes a stepping stone toward greater abundance and creative mastery. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. The revisions you make today immediately recalibrate the subconscious, influencing both present and future opportunities. This is how miracles become ordinary. Previously blocked pathways for money and success suddenly appear as natural, almost inevitable experiences. This is where doubts dissolve. As you witness the power of conscious revision transforming your circumstances, skepticism fades into certainty. This is why persistence is sacred. Repeated practice strengthens your ability to reshape reality from within, turning wealth into a habitual state. This is where clarity sharpens. You begin to discern which memories truly need revision and which already support your financial expansion. This is how belief transcends effort, because internal realignment produces external results without forced struggle. This is where your journey deepens, and through the art of revision, every subsequent Neville principle of wealth becomes more potent, allowing abundance to flow naturally, seamlessly, and permanently. Envision a world where the limits of your income, assets, and opportunities are determined not by the economy or circumstance, but by the way you see yourself at your core. In this video, you will learn how Neville Goddard teaches that your self-concept acts as the invisible ceiling for your wealth, and how transforming it from scarcity to abundance allows financial expansion to occur naturally and effortlessly. This is where it begins. By recognizing that every financial plateau you've experienced reflects the boundaries of your inner identity rather than external reality. This is how it unfolds. When you expand your self-concept to embody the traits, mindset, and confidence of a wealthy person, your outer circumstances adjust in harmony with your new identity. This is where truth breaks through. Money, opportunities, and recognition flow in direct proportion to the person you believe yourself to be internally. This is why it matters, because attempting to force wealth without aligning your self-concept is like pouring water into a cracked container. It cannot hold. This is where illusion fades. The idea that external effort alone can create limitless wealth is replaced with the understanding that inner transformation dictates outer success. This is the turning point. As you internalize a prosperous self-image, your subconscious mind begins to remove barriers and attract conditions that support it. This is the revelation. Your self-concept is a magnet, drawing experiences, relationships, and financial outcomes that match the version of you hold inside. This is how the promise manifests. By consistently imagining and feeling yourself as wealthy, respected, and capable, the universe responds with congruent circumstances. This is where resistance falls away, because the inner certainty of being already abundant silences doubt, fear, and hesitation. This is why you are empowered. The authority over your financial destiny lies within your perception of yourself, not outside influences. This is the gateway to a life where limitations are dissolved, and abundance is the natural consequence of your self-concept. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. The moment you fully embody a wealthy identity, opportunities begin to align instantly and continuously. This is how miracles become ordinary. Financial breakthroughs, promotions, and unexpected gains emerge as natural extensions of who you believe yourself to be. This is where doubts dissolve, as repeated manifestations confirm that your self-concept is the primary architect of your material reality. This is why persistence is sacred. Maintaining and reinforcing your wealthy identity ensures lasting expansion and freedom. This is where clarity sharpens. You begin to distinguish between fleeting desires and the stable identity that supports true abundance. This is how belief transcends effort, because a transformed self-concept attracts wealth without the struggle of chasing or convincing. This is where your journey truly ascends, and by mastering your inner identity, every other Neville principle of wealth gains maximum power, creating an unstoppable path to financial freedom. Think of the moment when you realize that the struggle to achieve financial success is often not about money itself, but about the identity you carry within, the poverty identity or the wealth identity. In this video, you will discover how Neville Goddard explains that your internal alignment, whether you see yourself as lacking or abundant, dictates every financial outcome, and how shifting from poverty to wealth consciousness transforms your reality at the deepest level. This is where it begins, by observing that the thoughts, habits, and emotional patterns of the poor-minded self create a magnetic field that attracts scarcity into your life. This is how it unfolds. As you consciously adopt the behaviors, feelings, and assumptions of the wealthy self, the universe mirrors back opportunities, resources, and success in perfect harmony with that identity. This is where truth breaks through. Your external circumstances are never the primary problem. Your inner identity is the invisible force shaping every financial situation. This is why it matters, because until you consciously step into a wealth identity, efforts to accumulate money are limited, inconsistent, and often frustrating. This is where illusion fades. The belief that hard work alone can overcome an internal poverty identity is dismantled, revealing the necessity of mental and emotional transformation. This is the turning point. When you consistently act, think, and feel as the person who already possesses abundance, external manifestations begin to follow with astonishing precision. This is the revelation. Wealth is not merely a reward or accumulation. It is the natural expression of the self you embody and project internally. This is how the promise manifests. By cultivating the wealth identity, your life naturally reorganizes around opportunities, alliances, and resources that align with your inner state. This is where resistance falls away, because the subconscious aligns effortlessly with the dominant self-concept, removing blocks that once seemed insurmountable. This is why you are empowered. Control over your financial reality comes from mastering your identity, not chasing transient goals. This is the gateway to a life where abundance is automatic, flowing from the natural resonance of who you are, rather than what you do. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. Once the wealth identity is firmly established, events, people, and circumstances arrange themselves in alignment with your inner state. This is how miracles become ordinary. Sudden opportunities, unexpected income, and synchronicities emerge as extensions of your new self-concept. This is where doubts dissolve, because repeated experiences confirm that who you are dictates what you attract. This is why persistence is sacred. Maintaining the wealth identity against the echoes of old scarcity ensures lasting transformation. This is where clarity sharpens. Distinguishing between temporary desire and enduring identity empowers precise creation. This is how belief transcends effort. For the identity itself carries the magnetism that draws wealth naturally, effortlessly, and permanently. This is where your journey deepens. And with the mastery of shifting identity, every other Neville principle of wealth becomes activated, accelerating your path to effortless abundance. Ask yourself what happens when the private dialogues in your mind begin to shape the financial reality you experience every day, quietly orchestrating your successes and setbacks. In this video, you will discover Neville Goddard's insight that mental conversations, the inner statements you constantly repeat to yourself, serve as the invisible blueprint for wealth, and learning to control them transforms your financial life from passive struggle to active creation. This is where it begins, by becoming aware of the narratives you tell yourself about money, your ability to earn, and your worthiness to receive abundance. This is how it unfolds. Every thought spoken internally with conviction sends signals to your subconscious, which then arranges circumstances to match that inner dialogue. This is where truth breaks through. Casual, unchecked thoughts often produce repeated patterns of scarcity, frustration, or missed opportunities, demonstrating the subtle but profound power of mental conversations. This is why it matters, because changing what you consistently say to yourself rewrites the programming that governs your financial reality. This is where illusion fades. The idea that wealth is purely external or random is replaced with the understanding that it is the natural reflection of your inner speech. This is the turning point. As you deliberately shift your mental conversations toward abundance, confidence, and expectation, your external world mirrors this alignment. This is the revelation. By speaking to yourself in ways that affirm wealth, prosperity, and capability, you create a fertile inner environment where money is drawn effortlessly. This is how the promise manifests, as each positive internal dialogue replaces fear or doubt. Opportunities, clients, and revenue streams begin to appear with uncanny timing. This is where resistance falls away, because the subconscious mind trusts the repeated, emotionally charged conversations more than logic, instantly reshaping your financial landscape. This is why you are empowered. Your inner speech becomes the steering wheel of your destiny, granting control over outcomes previously thought random or uncontrollable. This is the gateway to a life where conscious thought and dialogue serve as magnets for wealth rather than stumbling blocks to success. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. Sustained positive internal conversation guarantees results regardless of immediate external circumstances. This is how miracles become ordinary. Your subconscious orchestrates circumstances that reflect the integrity of your inner dialogue with seamless precision. This is where doubts dissolve, as repeated manifestations confirm that mental conversations are the direct architects of your financial reality. This is why persistence is sacred. Consistent, purposeful inner dialogue compounds, generating results far beyond what sporadic effort can achieve. This is where clarity sharpens, revealing which thoughts truly empower financial growth and which silently restrict it. This is how belief transcends effort, because the momentum of aligned inner conversations produces abundance naturally, without forced struggle. This is where your journey evolves. And through mastering mental conversations, every other principle of Neville's wealth teachings becomes more potent, making prosperity both inevitable and effortless. Consider the possibility that the difference between fleeting financial gains and lasting wealth lies not in action alone, but in the unwavering persistence of your inner state. In this video, you will learn how Neville Goddard emphasizes the sacred power of persistence, holding the feeling and assumption of wealth consistently, and how this single principle transforms temporary abundance into permanent prosperity. This is where it begins. By realizing that appearances, delays, or temporary setbacks do not matter, the inner state you maintain dictates the eventual outer manifestation. This is how it unfolds. As you repeatedly impress upon your subconscious mind the sensation of already being wealthy, resistance diminishes and the world aligns with your consistent state. This is where truth breaks through. Fleeting desires or sporadic effort cannot produce enduring wealth, but sustained mental and emotional alignment becomes an unstoppable force. This is why it matters, because persistence ensures that the subconscious integrates abundance as a permanent fixture, not a passing anomaly. This is where illusion fades. The belief that one must constantly hustle to secure wealth is replaced by the understanding that sustained assumption creates effortless results. This is the turning point. When you refuse to be swayed by temporary appearances, the invisible mechanisms of manifestation begin to orchestrate events in your favor. This is the revelation. Wealth is not a momentary reward, but a natural consequence of consistently holding the state of being rich internally. This is how the promise manifests. By maintaining focus on the feeling of prosperity, despite current circumstances, opportunities and resources start to converge naturally. This is where resistance falls away, because the subconscious accepts repeated impressions as reality, eliminating doubt and delay. This is why you are empowered. Control over your financial destiny now lies in the endurance of your inner state, not in external manipulation or struggle. This is the gateway to a life where abundance is continuous, predictable, and reflective of your sustained inner alignment. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. Once the state is persistently held, the universe responds with precision, arranging circumstances to match your mental conviction. This is how miracles become ordinary. Repeated persistence transforms what once seemed impossible into routine experiences of wealth and opportunity. This is where doubts dissolve, as each manifestation confirms that inner endurance, not frantic effort, drives lasting success. This is why persistence is sacred, because it compounds invisibly, reinforcing the subconscious alignment that produces unstoppable abundance. This is where clarity sharpens, enabling you to distinguish temporary impulses from the enduring states that create real wealth. This is how belief transcends effort, because the unwavering state of assumed wealth becomes the vehicle through which life rearranges itself effortlessly. This is where your journey truly deepens. And by mastering persistence, every other principle of Neville's teachings flows seamlessly into a life of consistent, abundant prosperity. Envision a world where your subconscious mind acts as a silent partner, working tirelessly behind the scenes to manifest your financial desires with precision and ease. In this video, you will discover how Neville Goddard teaches that the subconscious is the ultimate co-creator of wealth, and how aligning it with your conscious intentions ensures that abundance flows effortlessly and consistently into your life. This is where it begins. By understanding that every thought, feeling, and assumption impresses upon the subconscious, which then orchestrates external circumstances in perfect harmony with your inner state. This is how it unfolds. When you saturate your subconscious with images, emotions, and beliefs of prosperity, it automatically arranges people, opportunities, and events to match that reality. This is where truth breaks through. Your outer world is always a reflection of the dominant impressions held in your subconscious mind, and mastery begins with conscious awareness. This is why it matters, because attempts to control finances through effort alone are limited. But when the subconscious is aligned, wealth manifests naturally and effortlessly. This is where illusion fades. The idea that success depends solely on external effort is replaced by the understanding that the mind is the invisible architect of reality. This is the turning point. As you intentionally impress your subconscious with the sensation of already being rich, circumstances adjust to reflect that state. This is the revelation. The subconscious cannot distinguish between imagined reality and physical reality. It responds fully to what is felt and believed. This is how the promise manifests. By feeding it vivid, emotionally charged mental scenes of wealth, your inner partner begins to engineer opportunities and experiences that validate your assumed state. This is where resistance falls away, because repeated persistent impressions are accepted as fact, bypassing doubt, fear, and limitation. This is why you are empowered. The power to shape your financial destiny rests in the partnership you cultivate with your subconscious mind. This is the gateway to a life where abundance is a continuous, seamless reflection of your inner programming. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. The subconscious arranges conditions according to the depth and clarity of your inner state, not according to external schedules. This is how miracles become ordinary. Seemingly impossible gains, sudden resources, and perfect synchronizations emerge effortlessly as the subconscious manifests your internal blueprint. This is where doubts dissolve, as repeated manifestations reinforce the principle that subconscious alignment produces tangible results. This is why persistence is sacred. Continued conscious cooperation strengthens this partnership, creating lasting financial transformation. This is where clarity sharpens, allowing you to distinguish between fleeting desires and deep, consistent impressions that truly shape reality. This is how belief transcends effort, because a fully aligned subconscious mind produces wealth naturally, without struggle, planning, or strain. This is where your journey accelerates, and by mastering your silent partner, every other Neville principle of wealth becomes exponentially more effective, making abundance both inevitable and effortless. Consider the possibility that the way you perceive others and their relationship to wealth directly shapes your own financial experience, often in ways you cannot see. In this video, you will learn Neville Goddard's principle that assumptions about other people, whether you view them as abundant or lacking, create ripple effects in your own prosperity, and how consciously choosing empowering assumptions draws financial blessings effortlessly. This is where it begins. By noticing that judgments, envy, or skepticism toward others often create internal blocks that limit your access to abundance. This is how it unfolds. When you treat others as successful, generous, and capable, your mind aligns with the same vibrational state, attracting comparable wealth into your life. This is where truth breaks through. The energy you hold toward others is reflected in the opportunities, collaborations, and resources that enter your experience. This is why it matters, because subtle assumptions shape your subconscious programming, either opening the channels for prosperity or closing them without your conscious awareness. This is where illusion fades. The idea that wealth is only about your own effort is replaced by the understanding that relationships and perceptions carry creative weight in manifestation. This is the turning point. As you cultivate thoughts of goodwill, abundance, and positive expectation toward others, the universe mirrors back financial and material benefits. This is the revelation. Generosity of mind, belief in others' success, and trust in collective abundance magnify your personal wealth beyond imagination. This is how the promise manifests. Opportunities for collaboration, profitable connections, and unexpected financial gifts flow naturally as a reflection of your empowered assumptions. This is where resistance falls away, because the subconscious responds to inclusive, positive perspectives rather than scarcity-focused judgments. This is why you are empowered. Your inner assumptions about others become tools to shape the circumstances and people that support your prosperity. This is the gateway to a life where wealth is multiplied through harmonious relationships and the conscious alignment of thought with abundance. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. The moment you hold empowering assumptions, synchronistic events, and people converge to support your financial vision. This is how miracles become ordinary. Unexpected gains and favorable connections emerge effortlessly, validating the power of your assumptions. This is where doubts dissolve, as tangible evidence shows that your mental perspective toward others influences your financial reality. This is why persistence is sacred. Consistently holding benevolent, wealth-oriented assumptions ensures continuous expansion. This is where clarity sharpens, allowing you to see which thoughts about others amplify abundance and which subtly restrict it. This is how belief transcends effort, because the state you maintain toward others magnetizes wealth without forced action. This is where your journey deepens, and with mastery over assumptions about others, every other Neville principle of wealth flows more powerfully, creating a life of effortless, interconnected prosperity. Picture for a moment a life where the opportunities, resources, and financial breakthroughs you need appear seemingly out of nowhere, guided by invisible forces you can neither see nor control directly. In this video, you will explore Neville Goddard's principle of unseen bridges of incidents, learning how the subconscious organizes events, people, and circumstances to connect you effortlessly with wealth when your inner state is aligned with abundance. This is where it begins, by understanding that the universe operates through unseen mechanisms that respond to your mental and emotional assumptions, linking you to what you need in perfect timing. This is how it unfolds. As you maintain the state of being wealthy and act as if your desires are already fulfilled, circumstances align, creating bridges that carry you to your goals without struggle or force. This is where truth breaks through. The paths to abundance are rarely direct, and every seemingly random encounter or event can serve as a necessary step orchestrated by your subconscious. This is why it matters, because expecting instant results through visible effort alone limits your ability to recognize and leverage these subtle, divinely arranged connections. This is where illusion fades. The belief that wealth must be earned linearly or logically is replaced with faith in the unseen pathways of manifestation. This is the turning point, when you trust that your inner assumptions guide the orchestration of events, delays, coincidences, and chance encounters all serve your financial expansion. This is the revelation. Every unseen bridge is a manifestation of the creative intelligence responding to your inner state, delivering resources, insight, or people just when you need them. This is how the promise manifests. Sudden opportunities, fortuitous meetings, and unexpected gains become predictable patterns when you sustain alignment with abundance. This is where resistance falls away, because the more you trust the invisible orchestration, the less fear, doubt, or impatience interrupts the flow. This is why you are empowered. Control over your financial life shifts from frantic effort to conscious alignment with the unseen intelligence that arranges circumstances on your behalf. This is the gateway to a life where abundance manifests through intricate, harmonious patterns that feel miraculous yet are completely natural. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. Each step in the unseen bridge appears precisely when your inner state is ready to receive it. This is how miracles become ordinary. What once seemed coincidental now reveals itself as the inevitable product of your sustained assumptions and feelings. This is where doubts dissolve. Repeated experiences of perfectly timed assistance confirm the guiding intelligence responding to your inner state. This is why persistence is sacred. Maintaining the assumption of wealth ensures the unseen bridges continue to form without interruption. This is where clarity sharpens, enabling you to distinguish meaningful opportunities from distractions and step confidently across each bridge. This is how belief transcends effort, because once your inner state is aligned, the universe constructs the path, allowing wealth to flow without struggle. This is where your journey truly accelerates. And with mastery of unseen bridges, every other Neville principle of wealth operates at maximum potency, connecting imagination to reality with effortless precision. Envision a life where faith is not a vague hope or belief in possibility, but a deliberate, creative act that shapes your financial reality with precision and certainty. In this video, you will discover Neville Goddard's principle that faith is the conscious use of imagination to assume the end of your desires, and how practicing faith as a creative tool transforms scarcity into effortless abundance. This is where it begins. By realizing that faith is the bridge between imagination and physical manifestation, the active force that impresses the subconscious with the reality you wish to experience. This is how it unfolds. When you act, feel, and think with the certainty that wealth already exists for you, the universe orchestrates circumstances to match that inner conviction. This is where truth breaks through. Mere hoping or passive belief does not produce results, but imaginative assumption with feeling and persistence does. This is why it matters, because faith as a creative act allows you to bypass fear, doubt, and external limitations, replacing them with unstoppable momentum toward abundance. This is where illusion fades. The idea that wealth requires constant struggle or external validation is dissolved by the internal certainty of your assumed state. This is the turning point. As you hold the reality of financial fulfillment in your consciousness with vivid clarity, opportunities, resources, and inspiration flow naturally. This is the revelation. Faith is not abstract. It is the internal tool that molds reality, transforming imagination into tangible results. This is how the promise manifests. Each act of faithful assumption impresses the subconscious, producing events, insights, and connections that confirm your inner state. This is where resistance falls away, because persistent, feeling-based faith overrides the mind's tendency to question or sabotage. This is why you are empowered. Your financial destiny becomes a direct result of your imaginative and emotional engagement, not luck or circumstance. This is the gateway to a life where abundance is guaranteed by the creative act of faith, aligning thought, feeling, and subconscious power. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. Every manifestation appears exactly when your inner certainty is complete, independent of external conditions. This is how miracles become ordinary. Synchronistic events, unexpected opportunities, and sudden resources arise as natural consequences of your faith-driven imagination. This is where doubts dissolve. Repeated experiences reinforce the understanding that what you imagine and assume with conviction is inevitably realized. This is why persistence is sacred. Maintaining faith as an active, creative force ensures wealth continues to materialize without interruption. This is where clarity sharpens. You begin to differentiate between passive hope and active, imaginative faith that produces results. This is how belief transcends effort, because your inner certainty becomes the invisible architect of every financial outcome. This is where your journey evolves. And with mastery of faith as a creative act, all other Neville principles of wealth operate with amplified power, creating effortless, unstoppable abundance. Envision the moment when you realize that the endless chase for money pales in comparison to the inner state of truly being wealthy, and that this shift is the cornerstone of Neville Goddard's teachings. In this video, you will learn the crucial distinction between wanting wealth as an external goal and embodying the consciousness of already having it, and how this inner alignment transforms your financial reality with ease and certainty. This is where it begins. By observing that wanting creates tension, frustration, and a constant sense of lack, while being wealthy establishes a magnetic state that draws abundance naturally. This is how it unfolds. When you embody the feelings, thoughts, and expectations of a prosperous person, your subconscious mind aligns circumstances, people, and opportunities to reflect that state externally. This is where truth breaks through. Wealth is not a goal to achieve, but a condition to inhabit, and the outer world responds to who you are internally, not what you pursue. This is why it matters, because attempting to acquire money without first cultivating the state of being wealthy perpetuates cycles of struggle and disappointment. This is where illusion fades. The belief that chasing wealth externally is the path to abundance is replaced by the understanding that inner possession precedes outward manifestation. This is the turning point. As you shift from desire to embodiment, your life begins to reorganize around opportunities, resources, and experiences that match the consciousness of wealth. This is the revelation. Being wealthy internally produces effortless financial results, while wanting keeps you bound to external conditions and limitations. This is how the promise manifests, by consistently living, feeling, and thinking as the wealthy self. Money, opportunities, and financial freedom appear naturally, without strain or sacrifice. This is where resistance falls away, because the inner state of wealth silences doubt, fear, and scarcity, allowing life to flow in alignment with abundance. This is why you are empowered. Control over your financial reality rests within your consciousness, not in unpredictable circumstances. This is the gateway to a life where abundance is a natural reflection of your internal state, making prosperity a lived experience rather than a distant objective. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. The moment you inhabit the state of being wealthy, the universe synchronizes events and resources to mirror that reality. This is how miracles become ordinary. Opportunities, windfalls, and unexpected financial gains emerge as a natural byproduct of internal alignment. This is where doubts dissolve. Repeated evidence confirms that the state of being wealthy, not the act of wanting, dictates manifestation. This is why persistence is sacred. Sustaining the internal state ensures continuous attraction and lasting financial stability. This is where clarity sharpens. You can now distinguish between fleeting desires and the powerful state that guarantees wealth. This is how belief transcends effort. Embodying wealth internally produces external results effortlessly, making pursuit unnecessary. This is where your journey truly ascends. And by mastering the difference between wanting and being, every other principle of Neville's wealth teachings becomes fully activated, creating a life of unstoppable, effortless abundance. Ask yourself, what would happen if every sentence you spoke internally, every thought, reflection, and inner declaration served as the blueprint for your financial reality, quietly shaping the wealth you attract without your conscious effort? In this video, you will learn Neville Goddard's principle that your inner speech is the primary architect of abundance, and how refining, directing, and aligning it with the state of wealth transforms your monetary life effortlessly. This is where it begins. By observing that casual, negative, or self-limiting thoughts about money imprint patterns on your subconscious, creating invisible barriers to prosperity. This is how it unfolds. When you deliberately craft inner conversations that affirm abundance, success, and capability, your subconscious arranges circumstances, opportunities, and resources to match these statements. This is where truth breaks through. The words you think and feel internally carry creative weight, dictating the quality, timing, and magnitude of your financial manifestations. This is why it matters, because external actions alone cannot overcome a subconscious narrative that contradicts wealth and abundance. This is where illusion fades. The belief that financial results depend only on effort or strategy is replaced with the understanding that inner speech precedes and generates external outcomes. This is the turning point. As you intentionally monitor and reprogram your inner dialogue, money begins to flow effortlessly into alignment with your assumptions. This is the revelation. Inner speech is the silent, invisible magnet that attracts opportunities, wealth, and synchronistic encounters that feel almost miraculous. This is how the promise manifests. Every thought, phrase, or imagined conversation that embodies prosperity impresses the subconscious and activates the unseen mechanisms of manifestation. This is where resistance falls away, because persistent, aligned inner speech bypasses doubt, fear, and scarcity thinking, creating a direct conduit for abundance. This is why you are empowered. The authority to shape financial reality rests within the words and statements you allow to dominate your mind. This is the gateway to a life where your inner narrative harmonizes fully with the external evidence of wealth, making abundance automatic and natural. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. As long as the inner blueprint is consistent, the universe orchestrates events to align with your speech. This is how miracles become ordinary. Opportunities, income, and unexpected resources appear in perfect coordination with your sustained internal dialogue. This is where doubts dissolve. The repeated manifestation of aligned outcomes confirms that inner speech is the master key to wealth. This is why persistence is sacred. Reinforcing positive inner statements strengthens subconscious alignment, compounding prosperity over time. This is where clarity sharpens, enabling you to discern which internal narratives support growth and which silently hinder it. This is how belief transcends effort. Because your inner speech generates financial outcomes without the need for struggle, negotiation, or external validation. This is where your journey evolves. And by mastering your internal dialogue as a blueprint for money, every other Neville principle of wealth flows naturally, producing effortless, sustained abundance. Envision a life where every expression of gratitude acts as a magnet, multiplying the abundance already present and opening channels for even greater prosperity. In this video, you will learn Neville Goddard's principle that gratitude is not just a polite habit, but a powerful spiritual tool that accelerates financial manifestation, and how consistently practicing it transforms scarcity into effortless wealth. This is where it begins. By recognizing that appreciating what you already have shifts your inner state from lack to abundance, signaling the subconscious to attract more of the same. This is how it unfolds. When you feel genuine gratitude for current resources, opportunities, and successes, the subconscious expands your reality to reflect that elevated state. This is where truth breaks through. Wealth grows naturally when your focus is on appreciation rather than absence, because energy follows attention, and attention magnifies what you honor. This is why it matters, because without gratitude, even imagined abundance struggles to anchor, while gratitude amplifies manifestation with exponential effect. This is where illusion fades. The belief that money must be earned through struggle is replaced with the understanding that acknowledgement and appreciation of present wealth accelerate further gain. This is the turning point. As you cultivate daily habits of gratitude, unseen opportunities, financial windfalls, and synchronicities appear as natural extensions of your inner state. This is the revelation. The act of giving thanks is itself a creative force, aligning you with the invisible currents that bring prosperity. This is how the promise manifests. Even small expressions of gratitude compound, generating momentum that expands your wealth far beyond what effort alone could achieve. This is where resistance falls away, because appreciation disarms doubt, worry, and fear, allowing abundance to flow uninterrupted. This is why you are empowered. The choice to feel and express gratitude places the key to wealth firmly in your hands. This is the gateway to a life where wealth is not only experienced but continuously multiplied through conscious appreciation. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. The universe responds instantly to the vibrational frequency of gratitude, aligning events, people, and resources accordingly. This is how miracles become ordinary. Every acknowledgement of abundance, no matter how small, triggers further manifestations in perfect sequence. This is where doubts dissolve, as repeated evidence confirms that gratitude is a direct conduit to increased financial flow. This is why persistence is sacred. Consistent practice ensures that the multiplier effect of gratitude compounds, creating sustained wealth. This is where clarity sharpens, allowing you to distinguish between superficial thankfulness and deep, emotion-driven appreciation that transforms your financial reality. This is how belief transcends effort, because gratitude draws prosperity naturally without forcing circumstances or chasing outcomes. This is where your journey deepens. And through mastery of gratitude, every other Neville principle of wealth operates at maximum potency, creating a life of effortless, abundant, and continuously expanding prosperity. Now consider this. What if unresolved resentment, anger, or blame toward yourself or others is silently blocking the flow of money into your life? acting as an invisible dam against abundance. In this video, you will discover Neville Goddard's principle that forgiveness, releasing past grievances and judgments, is essential for financial flow, and how letting go of these burdens allows wealth to move freely and effortlessly into your reality. This is where it begins. By recognizing that holding on to grudges or regrets creates a vibrational misalignment with prosperity, restricting opportunities, resources, and financial synchronicities. This is how it unfolds. When you consciously forgive, the subconscious releases the tension, clears blockages, and restores alignment with abundance. This is where truth breaks through. Your inner emotional state determines the ease with which money flows, and unforgiveness creates invisible resistance that stalls manifestation. This is why it matters, because wealth cannot coexist with unresolved negativity. The energy of resentment constricts the channels through which abundance arrives. This is where illusion fades. The belief that external effort alone can overcome inner barriers is replaced with the understanding that emotional and spiritual clarity precedes financial results. This is the turning point. As you practice forgiveness, your inner state shifts to one of openness, receptivity, and alignment with the natural flow of prosperity. This is the revelation. Releasing grievances frees not only emotional energy, but also activates the creative power of the subconscious to bring wealth effortlessly. This is how the promise manifests. Opportunities, windfalls, and unexpected resources appear as resistance dissolves, revealing the unobstructed pathways of financial flow. This is where resistance falls away, because forgiveness neutralizes the internal friction that previously blocked wealth from manifesting. This is why you are empowered. You gain the ability to clear internal obstacles at will, regaining full control over the channels of abundance. This is the gateway to a life where financial prosperity is unhindered, flowing naturally in harmony with your liberated emotional state. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. Once forgiveness is enacted, the subconscious rearranges circumstances in alignment with abundance, independent of external delays. This is how miracles become ordinary. The moment resentment is released, sudden financial solutions, collaborations, and opportunities appear as though by invisible design. This is where doubts dissolve. Repeated evidence shows that forgiveness removes the blocks that previously kept wealth at bay. This is why persistence is sacred. Continuously practicing forgiveness ensures that abundance flows uninterrupted, even in challenging circumstances. This is where clarity sharpens, helping you identify lingering resentments or negative patterns that subtly restrict prosperity. This is how belief transcends effort, because releasing emotional resistance allows wealth to arrive effortlessly without struggle or force. This is where your journey deepens. And by mastering forgiveness, every other Neville principle of wealth operates more powerfully, creating a life of free-flowing, abundant, and unstoppable financial prosperity. Can you imagine a life where the limits of your bank account, career, and financial success are determined not by external conditions, but entirely by the vividness and depth of your imagination? In this video, you will discover Neville Goddard's central teaching that imagination is the gateway to wealth, and how consciously using it to live as if your desires are already fulfilled transforms dreams into tangible reality with astonishing precision. This is where it begins. By understanding that every financial circumstance you experience is first conceived in the mind as an image, feeling, and assumption that your subconscious mind faithfully manifests. This is how it unfolds. When you consistently and emotionally imagine yourself enjoying the life of prosperity you desire, the subconscious orchestrates people, events, and resources to match that inner state. This is where truth breaks through. Imagination is not fantasy. It is the seed of reality, and the clarity, consistency, and emotional intensity with which you imagine directly shapes your material outcomes. This is why it matters, because without conscious control of imagination, life simply mirrors the unexamined, habitual thoughts and assumptions you hold. This is where illusion fades. The belief that wealth comes from effort, luck, or external validation is replaced by the realization that internal imagining precedes all manifestation. This is the turning point. As you immerse yourself in rich, sensory, and emotional images of abundance, reality bends to match the life you've already experienced in mind. This is the revelation. The subconscious cannot distinguish imagined experiences from physical ones. It responds to what is lived internally with full faith. This is how the promise manifests. Imagined scenarios, when felt as real, generate the events, people, and financial opportunities that bring them into form externally. This is where resistance falls away, because persistent, controlled imagination overrides doubt, fear, and scarcity thinking, creating a smooth path for wealth. This is why you are empowered. The power to shape financial reality rests entirely within your ability to imagine and feel it as real now. This is the gateway to a life where imagination is the primary engine of creation, producing abundance without struggle or forcing. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. The more fully and consistently you imagine, the sooner the external world aligns with your inner vision. This is how miracles become ordinary. Opportunities, windfalls, and resources flow effortlessly, guided by the power of your inner creative faculty. This is where doubts dissolve, as repeated manifestations prove that imagination, when disciplined and emotionalized, is the direct pathway to wealth. This is why persistence is sacred, because continuous, deliberate imagining compounds the subconscious alignment necessary for lasting prosperity. This is where clarity sharpens, allowing you to discern which images, assumptions, and emotions truly support your financial elevation. This is how belief transcends effort. Imagination alone, fully inhabited and felt, is sufficient to produce wealth without forced action. This is where your journey ascends, and by mastering imagination as a gateway, every other Neville principle of wealth magnifies, producing unstoppable, effortless, and continuously expanding abundance. Picture for a moment that the key to attracting wealth is not strategy, knowledge, or effort, but the depth of feeling you attach to the reality of already having abundance. In this video, you will learn Neville Goddard's principle that feeling is the secret to manifestation, and how cultivating the emotional state of financial fulfillment transforms imagination into tangible results, making money flow effortlessly. This is where it begins. By recognizing that thoughts alone are insufficient, it is the emotional conviction behind your assumptions that activates the subconscious to produce your desires. This is how it unfolds. When you feel the reality of being wealthy in every fiber of your being, your subconscious accepts it as fact and arranges circumstances, people, and opportunities accordingly. This is where truth breaks through. Your emotions are the language through which the universe perceives and responds. Inconsistent feeling aligns invisible forces with your financial goals. This is why it matters, because without the emotional charge, imagined wealth remains inert and external manifestations remain delayed or incomplete. This is where illusion fades. The belief that logical planning or effort alone generates abundance is replaced with the understanding that feeling is the true creative engine. This is the turning point. As you consistently embody the emotions of having arrived financially, the universe mirrors that state back into your life with precision. This is the revelation. The subconscious responds fully to feeling, and the depth, intensity, and consistency of that feeling determines the speed and magnitude of manifestation. This is how the promise manifests. Opportunities, financial windfalls, and synchronicities begin to appear as natural expressions of the emotional reality you maintain. This is where resistance falls away, because strong, consistent feeling neutralizes doubt, worry, and scarcity programming that previously hindered results. This is why you are empowered. The authority to attract money now resides in your ability to inhabit the emotional state of wealth. This is the gateway to a life where abundance is an inevitable reflection of your internal feeling, rather than a product of struggle or effort. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. The moment you fully feel the reality of financial fulfillment, the universe synchronizes events to bring it into form. This is how miracles become ordinary. Money, opportunities, and resources appear in alignment with the vibrational state you maintain. This is where doubts dissolve. Repeated evidence confirms that feeling, not mere thinking, activates the creative power of the subconscious. This is why persistence is sacred. Sustaining the emotional state of abundance ensures continuous manifestation and long-term prosperity. This is where clarity sharpens, helping you identify which feelings amplify wealth and which subtly block it. This is how belief transcends effort, because feeling fully replaces striving, producing wealth naturally, easily, and permanently. This is where your journey deepens. And by mastering feeling as the secret to attracting money, all other Neville principles of wealth operate at their fullest power, creating effortless, abundant, and unstoppable financial reality. Ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped chasing wealth and instead fully inhabited the reality of already being rich, letting that state guide every thought, action, and feeling in your life? In this video, you will discover Neville Goddard's ultimate principle, living in the end, which means assuming and feeling the completed state of your financial desire as if it has already been achieved, and how this single practice guarantees effortless manifestation. This is where it begins, by realizing that all wealth is created from the end, not the means, and that starting from the assumed completion aligns your subconscious to orchestrate perfect outcomes. This is how it unfolds. When you consistently live, think, and feel as the person who already possesses abundance, your external reality bends to reflect that internal certainty. This is where truth breaks through. The outer world does not create your state. Your inner state creates the outer world, and every event, opportunity, and resource flows from that foundation. This is why it matters, because attempts to accumulate wealth without first assuming the end are slow, frustrating, and often fruitless. This is where illusion fades. The belief that you must wait, earn, or struggle before being wealthy is replaced with the understanding that being precedes having. This is the turning point. As you vividly imagine, feel, and act from the end, obstacles dissolve, and synchronistic events align perfectly to your assumed state. This is the revelation. Living in the end is not wishful thinking, but a practical, spiritual method that impresses the subconscious, which then manifests the imagined reality flawlessly. This is how the promise manifests. Every thought, choice, and action taken from the completed state produces results that mirror your inner assumption with precision. This is where resistance falls away, because the certainty of the end state overrides doubt, fear, and scarcity, creating a clear pathway for wealth. This is why you are empowered. Control over your financial reality now rests entirely in your conscious decision to inhabit the fulfilled state, independent of external conditions. This is the gateway to a life where abundance flows naturally, effortlessly, and continuously, reflecting the inner reality you maintain. This is where timing becomes irrelevant. As long as you live in the end, the universe arranges circumstances to match the assumed state without delay. This is how miracles become ordinary. Opportunities, windfalls, and sudden resources appear as natural extensions of the internal reality you embody. This is where doubts dissolve. Repeated evidence demonstrates that consistent living in the end guarantees manifestation every time. This is why persistence is sacred. Maintaining the end state ensures that abundance becomes permanent, effortless, and unstoppable. This is where clarity sharpens, allowing you to distinguish between temporary longing and the powerful, completed state that commands reality. This is how belief transcends effort, because embodying the end replaces striving with natural alignment, producing wealth effortlessly. This is where your journey culminates, and by mastering living in the end, every other Neville principle of wealth converges, creating a life of infinite, flowing, and unstoppable prosperity, where being wealthy is not a goal, but the natural, permanent state of your existence.